France has become the first EU country to announce restrictions on social media use for young people amid growing awareness of the dangers such apps pose for developing minds. The French Parliament's now approved a bill to stop under-15s using social media. It's due to take effect at the end of the European summer holidays.
It is the first EU country to vote to ban social media for teens. French President Emmanuel Macron has championed the move and, apparently without irony, took to social media to celebrate the ban, thanking Parliament for what he called a major step forward and leading the way for Europe. But the debate reflected doubts about how to enforce it and the limits it places on liberty.
You know that these measures will be circumvented and that they are inapplicable. It's an excuse to impose the end of anonymity on the internet.
Supporters countered those points by highlighting the negative impact of social media use.
The question before us today as politicians is who decides the mental and informational environment in which our children live. I obviously hear the argument of individual freedom. I also hear that some would like to involve the Constitutional Council on this issue of freedom. But it seems to me that the condition for freedom is having available attention time, having reliable information and deciding what we see.
Responses have been mixed and sometimes express considerable reflection.
I believe it's very good and even a bit late. We got off to a slow start.
I would like to continue to watch platforms.
At the beginning, I didn't agree, because it cuts links with my friends. But on the other side, when I hear the government's point of view, I believe they're right.
Details of how the ban will be enforced have yet to be worked out, and they too will be closely watched. Britain's government is considering a similar law, while Australian teens are already living with a ban imposed late last year.
Let's get more from our Paris correspondent, Lisa Louis, who is actually in the Latvian capital, Riga. Welcome, Lisa. Emmanuel Macron wants this ban to take effect from the new school year. Is that likely to actually happen?
Well, now the law has been voted through by Parliament, by the National Assembly. The opposition has already announced it would take the legislation to the Constitutional Court to see if it is constitutional. But the government seems adamant to really put it in place, implement it from the 1st of September. Mind you, there are still parts of that law that are a bit vague. You know, we don't even know what social media we're talking about. They are not specifically mentioned in the law. And also it is unclear what kind of tools will be used by social media platforms to verify the age. The government has said there are available tools and it is up to platforms to verify that age. But we will see how that will pan out exactly. Now, you know, in September, those who want to create a social media account will have to prove their age, and those with an account already in function, they'll have another 4 months, so 3 or 4 months, to prove that they are 15 years and older.
And how's the government responding to the sorts of criticisms we heard in the report that these measures are inapplicable and easily circumvented?
Well, I think they are saying that it is important to make a statement. It is a sign that social media platforms don't have free rein. Parents in France have also been telling me, you know, this is actually a good thing, even if it can be circumvented, but it gives parents a rule to say, you know, no, you're 13, you're 14, you shouldn't access social media. And the government is also saying, you know, when it comes to, you know, privacy rights, that these platforms will not be allowed to keep any personal details of social media users for long. And again, they will be certified by the government, so they will be closely surveyed.
The European Commission is working on its own regulations to rein in social media across the bloc and thereby protect young people. And why has France chosen not to wait for a European solution?
Well, I think Emmanuel Macron, the French president, wants to lead the way. He also said that in a social media video he published on Twitter last night. He was saying, we're really going ahead with this. It is important to legislate on this matter. We do know that the EU is mulling such an approach, an EU-wide approach. As you said, it's not clear if it's going to be 15 years, 13 years, 14 years, anything can happen. But I think French President Emmanuel Macron also wants to make a statement when it comes to himself. France is facing presidential elections early next year, in spring next year, and this might be the last major legislation that his government or the government under him will put in place. So he really wants to show that he is active up until the last minute of his time in power.
And in less than 30 seconds, Lisa, what sort of reaction has there been from the social media platforms?
Well, they are not happy. Obviously, they say youngsters will then go to dark parts of the web. But obviously, and where dark parts which are dangerous, but the counter argument is, the dangerous parts are really on social platforms where there are a lot of people who can harm them. So they will try to go against this legislation, but it seems like not only France, but other European countries are also pushing forward that and really want to limit the reign, the space that social media platforms have.
Thank you, Lisa. A DW correspondent, Lisa Louis.
Sonia Livingstone is from the Digital Futures for Children Centre, a research initiative between the London School of Economics and the Five Rights Foundation. Welcome to DW. You've said these bans distract from the real work of making platforms safer. How can they be made safer?
Well, Europe has passed the Digital Services Act recently and has been implementing it already quite vigorously. And the Digital Services Act is designed to make platforms safer, in fact, for everybody, but it does have special provision and particular guidelines for children, especially in relation to high-risk platforms like social media and some gaming platforms. So there is a process in place. It is being implemented. And so in that sense, this ban seems to be sort of beside the point.
Are bans able to be introduced without disconnecting kids completely or marginalising certain children, or does this ban go in the completely other direction or in the wrong direction?
Well, I guess we should kind of put the word ban to one side because it's not a ban on children, actually. It is a restriction on the platforms. And the French law is that the platforms now should not allow children to make an account on a high-risk service like social media. And yes, those platforms are high risk to children, but they also offer opportunities. And so, that's as in your question. Children and young people have come to live a life in which they find many opportunities on social media as well as many of the risks. They look for their news on social media, they look for information on social media, they often look for educational resources, but most important, they stay in touch with their friends, as we just heard from the young people in your video. And the question is, how do young people in a matter of months, suddenly find new habits, new ways of being in touch with their friends? Does the society even make it possible for them to freely meet their friends? Or are there kind of rules and restrictions also on how they can go outside? So it looks like a restriction on children without providing opportunities for them to socialise, rather than, as in the European regulation, an opportunity to make the platform safer so that young people can get the benefits without those risks.
Is this where the restrictions should be made at a European level rather than country by country, here in the EU at least?
Yes, and that is already the law. I mean, that is what the European Commission has passed in its Digital Service Act, and it's updating that, and it's developing it, and it's implementing it. So the platforms are getting safer. They're absolutely not safe yet, and I understand the kind of the frustration of actually many parents and children around the world, not just in France. But a ban is, it sounds simple. It's actually going to be very hard to implement. There's a lot of questions still unresolved, especially for something that's meant to come into effect already this coming September. And it just restricts children. It doesn't stop the platforms perpetrating the many problems that they are responsible for, and it doesn't provide children with any other opportunities. So it's just a net loss to children.
How do you think this will work in France? How do you go about enforcing such a ban? Because some parents help their kids get around the bans. Other platforms make it pretty easy to allow children to access them.
Well, I think this is where we really learn from Australia. So Australia brought in its ban for children under 16 last December. And as I think you said in your introduction, it's not working very well. So why is it not working very well? Well, it turns out that the platforms themselves are not doing what is required. They are not introducing the age checks, and they're especially not doing it for those who are already on their services. Actually, maybe not even for those who are newly joining. So if the platforms are not, complying with the regulation, then children will carry on getting on the services. Yes, some of them will get around the age checks, and it does also seem a concern that the French legislation has not specified either which platforms are in scope or what kind of age restrictions should be applied, and it is vital that those are privacy respecting. Otherwise, the platforms get even more data about children and everybody than they have at the moment.
What more pressure could governments put on these tech giants to clean up their act?
Yeah, well, that is a really important question. And I think probably many governments have been kind of wanting the business that the tech giants bring at the same time as wanting to find ways to keep everyone safer. And so they are both encouraging the platforms and also trying to restrict them. That has not been effective, nor has it been effective to try to ask the platforms to do the right thing, because it's the right thing to do, which is to treat children in a way that is respectful and respects their rights. So it's going to take regulation and enforcement. We have seen that regulation and enforcement coming in. Europe has now got actions against TikTok and against Meta. The British government similarly has just taken out actions against, I think, both Meta and TikTok, perhaps the German government too. So I think the pressure is rising. And at the same time, the European Commission has just completed the work of its special panel on child online safety. It's received the report of that panel, and the European President is about to make an announcement about what would be the next step. So, I think the gist is things are actually happening now quite fast. And at the same time, the tech industry is developing better mechanisms for age verification, which do respect privacy more. We've yet to be, I think, completely convinced that that's all ready to go. So many things are going in the right direction. This French decision seems to sort of jump the gun, and I think it's quite uncertain what will really be in place in September and whether it really will be a significant improvement.
Sonia Livingstone, appreciate your time. It's been great talking to you about this.
Thank you.